Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw Tips and Tricks. Somebody sent me this pretty rough graphic and they want to cut it out on MDF, and I've already kind of played around with it. I sent him that earlier this morning, but he wants the details more like that, and I wasn't going for that when I did this. So this thing is less than 3 inches. I made my nudge factor 3, and for the one I'm doing it for, I reduced it quite a bit. And I'm actually going to reduce it a little bit more. You can see the bounding box is quite a bit bigger. You've got to make sure it's selected when you do this, and I'm going to crop it. I want to make sure I get everything, though. I don't want to leave anything out, like that ear. So I'm going to go and I'm going to go crop. So now I'm going to make a duplicate of it. I'm going to move it over a couple of times, and I'm going to trace this. I'm going to go to Trace Bitmap, Outline Trace, and Clip Art. I'm going to go ahead and group it by color and then say okay, and then move it out of the way. So now what I can do, and I can go up to Object, Group, and ungroup it. So now I have different groups of colors, and I'm going to maybe think he might want those, so I'm going to nudge them down. Wish I didn't set my nudge factor on quite so big. But this will not create an outline because all the broken lines. And, at this time I would maybe go through and maybe take the black part of the dog and let's nudge it down and over. So it's leaving some trash. But that's some trash we're going to need with the cat. So let's go back and don't do that. And let's worry about connecting the dots that we can fill this stuff in. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to select it all. I'm going to left click no fill and right click and outline. And everywhere where there's a break in the lines, well, I'm going to also, it might be a hairline. Yeah, it's a hairline. I'm going to go ahead and make them red. And so wherever there's a break in the line, the Smart Fill tool is going to fill that in and just kind of not be usable. So I'm going to grab the 3-point curve line, and I'm just going to go from right there to right there and click. You know what? That's a hairline. What is this? Maybe there's something else there, but this will work for the time being. So we also need to get a line. I'm not worried about these inner parts right now. Get back to the 3-point curve line and maybe even put a little bit of a curve to it. So like right there, it's going to leak. And you could actually, I don't want to go that far past, but you could always take your shape tool after you're done. And see, I just kind of move my hand funny. All I'm trying to do is keep it from leaking. So like at the top of the cat's head, we'll actually go ahead and now that I kind of know what he wants, we're actually going to go from like right there to right there and do this right here. So here, I'm just going to kind of go fast because I'm not, kind of doing it for him. I'm just kind of giving him some idea. And, using the 3-point curve line, you should be able to put a little bit of a curve on it. I think it'll make it better in the long run. The cat tail, you have to keep going back and forth, kind of look, or I do at least, to, make sure you're not missing anything. And you could actually go past the lines, like that won't matter because we're trying to get the outside of the item now. And what I mean by, like, I can go from there to there. I'm not too worried about it going past. On the, in just a second, when we get over to the dog's paws, it's a little bit different. Looking at this, I'm just going to go ahead and do here because I'm going to try to end up using those lines later. But and I really probably should have deleted some of those other lines. But see, I can just go from there to there, and I'm going past the item. The toenails look pretty bad, but we'll fix them in a second, hopefully. But see, I could go all the way from there to there. It doesn't matter. I might want those toenails, but we could always redraw the toenails. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of do this. I'm just trying to get an outside shape. I think I'm almost got it. I want an outside shape so I can, see I can go quite a bit longer. And I think I got it. But to play it, well, to make it play it safe also, but I'm gonna put a rectangle around it. Make sure you get everything. And I'm gonna take the Smart Fill tool and let's do a dark blue and let's fill this in. And see, I've got a leak in the dog and I can almost automatically kind of see where it leaked. Where I thought I did. Somewhere there's another leak. There it is right there. And that's a good thing about, we need the rectangle around there anyway, but this way it's not escaping the whole page. So now I'm going to go over and down. I'm going to fill this in. I'm going to go over and I can left click. I'm going to go ahead and make my outline black. I can now take away my puppy dog and we're going to move this over, but you can see it's an exact copy of the item, and some of these places are going to be touching. So my suggestion would be able to, let me move this out of the way, and let me see if I can't grab my outline, and I did. I'm going to go to Effects and Contour. I'm going to contour the outside. I think 0.01 is going to be way too much. Let's go 0.002. See what that looks like. That's not enough. Let's go 0.0. I think that's what I did a while ago. Yeah, 0.01 would be better. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to go to Object and break the contour apart. Now that setting isn't going to mean anything unless you're drawing it this same size. So now we can move this over and look what we got. We've got an outline now around the puppy dog and the cat. So let's move this over. And if you wanted some of these details, in your drawing, we could try to left click, right click, and then move them over. And that's the gray part of the dog, and it might not be wanted. And we would have to clean him up quite a bit. I don't think he's going to want that, so I'm going to move him out of the way. So what I'm going to do now is take, like the dog's ear is not very good. Let's take some, I do not understand why that line is so thick. Let me try to go and ungroup them. See, I can't see how that's a hairline if when I draw in hairline, it's such a thinner line. Maybe just because it's messed up. But at this time, we could take his, I'm going to take the virtual segment delete key, and I'm going to delete that line in between it. See, that's what the problem is. There must be a, let me change them all to black. I didn't have anything selected. I don't really know why that's going well. When I take away this line with the virtual segment delete key, see, it does that. But we can keep going. So what I'm going to do is take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in. And if we move it over and turn it black, you could clean this up. And so if we take, well, you know what, let's left click, right click, and see we have a lot better rendition of it now. And see there, I call that a whoop-de-doo. It's a node that's just turned on itself. If we take away those lines, and we could actually take the smoothing tool. Now on this, you don't want it very big, like 0.25. Oh, wow, look how big that still is, 0.02. You just want a little bit of a nib on that, and just take this and just a little bit bigger is going to help us. because we're only doing that. We're not going to be touching that outside line. Now this is going to take some time, but after you're through, I think it's going to be really, really nice. And then you got to figure out, how big you're cutting this and whether is this too thin. So if this is too thin, bring that up, bring this up. And now if we fill this in with, I'm going to go back to black. So I got a leak. I hit the wrong thing. So that'll cut out pretty good. And then you just start on the other side and, Smart Fill. Let me zoom in and we'll do both of his ears or both of his eyes. So I'm going to move that over, that over, that over, and that over. And you just have to keep going back and forth and look at it in a wireframe type mode or a hairline and just kind of, smooth that out right there. Take your smoothing tool. It'll still be set on the same shape. And see, I'm not affecting the other one because I don't have it selected. So now I will select this one. The nodes come up and, you could take a lot of time and make it look pretty good. Now here we have two different lines. So just a suggestion, maybe take your shape tool, grab that node, put this node up here, take your virtual segment delete key and delete these lines. Now what we're going to want to do, whoop, that one wasn't finished. It wasn't touching. Yep. So we'll take this line and put it here. I'm just thinking what it should look like. Now what you want to do before you do anything is take the Smart Fill tool, fill that in and move it over and just, I was afraid of that. I'm grabbing the dog, which you could probably lock the dog, the outside of the dog, go up to object and lock. And then that way you can't grab the dog when you take the pick tool and select this. Now we're going to go back and get wherever I put my eyeball. Where did I put it? Okay, let's go back. Oh, there. Yep, that's the original one. Let's take the Smart Fill tool. I'm going to nudge it up this time, and that way I know where it is. I didn't change the other one. Look how far away it is. So I'm going to delete all this, and I'm going to nudge this back, and then go in and, that way. If you look at it with black, you'll really appreciate it. But what I would want to do is take this one and take away the fill, add the outline, and I want to smooth it up quite a bit because I know he's cutting it out with MDF, which is pretty strong. Now this is all one piece, so you need to be careful with your nib size. And I don't know if you can see that on the monitor that when I grabbed it, the nodes appeared. And just select both those and put them in black. And it's coming along. I'm going to do just a little bit more on the dog. The cat will be basically the same. This part of his ear, well, that part got all of his head. So let's do is, what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and put a rectangle around this. In case I leak, I won't mess up. So I'm going to take the Smart Fill tool and do all that. And then I'm going to move it over. And that way we're getting his head. Now, if you remember, we have the dog lock, so we will not change it when we use the Smart Fill tool. Like those are really close, but let's see what happens when we take the smoothing tool. And normally I would use a little bit bigger nib. And just, I don't know what size he's going to end up being as end result. If it's pretty big, then this is going to work perfectly. And I'm going to show you in just a second that. So just kind of smooth this stuff out. You know, go down here. And the longer you stay on it, the smoother it's going to get. So you don't want to stay in one spot too big. Now, right here, this is pretty close if he's going to cut it. And also, you got to think about other things that, that won't work. So if he cuts this out, that's going to fall out. So we have to think about that. He might want to just do two things. Take this out, and I think that would look pretty cool when we end up filling it in. Whoop, I didn't get on my mark. Still didn't get on my mark, or I've got a leak somewhere. I don't think I have a leak somewhere. Oh, I was trying to fill it in here. I need to fill it in here. So that looks pretty cool. That actually looks like a turning of his ear. I'm going to do a little bit more and then we'll quit. I think the cat, the whiskers, you could almost draw all that. I still don't understand why it's so thick of lines, but, and just start nudging over. And get what you think is his nose. I didn't get any of the internal parts. But a lot of, sometimes you could draw some of this stuff. Let's see what happens when see what happened to that. I mean, there's just lines on top of lines, I guess. So a lot of that stuff you could just basically, hand draw to make it look like his nose. This might be a little bit more complicated than I thought, but just grab all that, left click, right click. This you definitely need to want to clean up. One, we want to make all this one piece. So we want to do this. And this I maybe would make it a separate piece and move it down. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know what the end result's going to look like, but if we take the smoothing tool, now I should have, and it might come back to bite me, I should have smart fill this in. So I'm going to smart fill that in and nudge it up, because if you remember, this was two pieces, and that's what the result's going to be. I wish I would have now set my nudge factor for something quite a bit lower. But then when we take and left click no fill, right click outline, you'll see the difference of the smoothing tool now. And I've also got a little bitty line in there that I can just take away with a virtual segment delete key. I love the smoothing tool. It's one of the best tools they have ever come up with in the recent, since I've been using Corel since 13, and this is 24. But I think the smoothing tool came out in 18. But if you look at this now filled in black, it's not too bad. And just a little bit more critiquing, adding things like his part of his chest. Now on his fingernails, I would maybe even just draw new nails, taking a lips, maybe forget what the original ones look like. And I'm these are his toes, and then basically these are his nails. And just take a 3-point curve line, go from there, bring it in, and maybe give a little bit of a curve to it. And don't worry about it. It's not like that. Just take now your virtual segment delete key and delete that. And we don't want that outline to change. But what we could do, what I would do anyway, after you've got all the toes done, go ahead and take that and cut that away. Oh, remember I've got it locked. So I'm going to have to grab it, go up to Object, Lock and Unlock All, even though I just had one lock. Now, I would move I'm going to change my nudge factor just like to 1 inch. I'm going to take all my black drawing and move it up, and I would probably make the toenails last. But then I'm going to take my Smart Fill tool and fill that in, and left click, right click, and just delete this and move this back up top and look at his new toenail. You know, change it up a little bit, you know, take the smoothing tool and, you know, maybe it's too long. If it's too long, too much, it all depends on how big you want it. You know, grab the shape tool and maybe grab those 3 nodes and just move it up a little bit. And then you could still go back with the smoothing tool. You can swap back and forth all the time and it does not hurt. That looks pretty good. You don't want it too sharp when you're cutting it out. But then let's move this back. And I think you'll be happy with the cutting ability, because if you take this now and left click, no fill, right click, you know what? There shouldn't be any lines there. Yep. And then move that back. Make it all a hairline so you'll know that that's a cut line. And I think that'll look quite good. Now, if you cut this out, that's going to fall out too. So on the other part, which I really think might work, on the other part is going to work. Let's make this one different just in case he doesn't want it to fall out. Well, then I would just take one part of it, get your shape tool, and just bring this node into here. See, I don't know why there's double lines there. That's something I did. Whoop. That should be locked. Well, let's just nudge out of the way for a second. I should go back and lock that again, but then just take, see, I don't understand. I must have made a copy of something. There we go. Yeah, we didn't take away too much. And then just take this and delete this. Now bring your dog back in. That helps to just have a little bit of a nudge. So now that's not going to fall out. You know, if we look at it, well, this is the way I would look at it when I'm finished. This is what I want the MDF to look like. Let's use a kind of an MDF color. That's what it's going to look like. So this is going to be perfect. And you could do, I could have done the same thing to that ear. And at this time, let's back up here and see, because this thing is so little. Let's take it and let's group it together for a second. And let's move it over here. And let's say he's going to make it, you know, I would think he's going to make it even bigger than that. So then I would start, I would expand both dog, you know, the one we're using and the new one. And then you just, you know, take a, see, there's a good, I did not scale the line with object. So you need to look at it like that and make it back to a hairline. And then this is the case where you can figure out, you know, if you've got it about the right size, take your parallel dimension tool and go, you know, that's 0.02 of a hundredth of an inch. So that's too thin. It would quite possibly work, but just take your shape tool. Now I grouped it together, if you remember, so let's ungroup it because it won't work. And then just, you know, grab those 2 nodes and move them over. Then take away that node and, you know, space these out a little bit. You know, you could even contour it, make it a little bit different. I've got something going on right here I don't like. There's too many nodes. Well, those nodes aren't joined because I had not smart filled them yet. You can go right here and join those 2 nodes. That's right there. It says, well, break curve apart, but I actually hit 2 nodes. And you know, you might not want a real sharp corner on this, you know, even though it probably should have. You could always take this and put a little curve to it. Not going to change the graphic. Maybe can't take away that node. But I think if he does that, you'll be extremely happy with your result and just keep going. But when you make the dog the size you want it, correlate this to the size you want it, or excuse me, this one. So expand them both at the same time, or just do them all when they're little. But after you trace, I would get it. I should have started out with that. I should have started out with this size dog. Anyway, I hope that helped just a little bit. Thank you for watching.